Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest edition of the Woke Bros. Of course, I'm your co-host, Big Waz, aka Wazzy Lambre, on a special birthday edition of the Woke Bros. I'm here with the birthday boy himself, Nando Vila on the west side. What's going on? Happy birthday, my brother.
Well, it's not my birthday today. It's
Right,
I guess
but
the
it's your
show comes
birthday
out
week.
tomorrow. It's my birthday week. My birthday's on the 11th on Monday, but this will
Okay.
be this
Yes,
is the one right
sir.
before the birthday. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
No, it's good. I mean, 36, dude.
36. Wow. Senior citizen damn near,
Yeah,
bruh.
fucking old, dude. Fucking old.
We love it. We love to see it. On today's show, a nice white lady whistleblower went to Capitol Hill this week to blow the whistle on Facebook and their toxic greed, avarice, corporate malfeasance, all of the terrible words you can use for these monster conglomerates. Facebook does it all. We're going to get into the implications of that, just what it means, what Facebook means in today's society and in today's culture. But first, man, leaks. I can't lie, man. I love a leak. I love a good leak. The Facebook leak on Wall Street Journal, I was all about it, which we basically knew all of this stuff already. The Facebook leaks, but we got another leak called the Pandora Papers, where individuals, Nando, were just straight up tax dodging. This isn't
Yeah.
tax avoidance, where corporations do all of the funny, crazy maneuverings of just like, all right, we're gonna find the fucking loopholes to just avoid paying all of our governments and paying our fair share to the fellow citizens. We're just gonna avoid it. These homies are just straight up just not paying taxes. And these
It's
are
good.
heads of state, these are celebrities, these are all kinds of world leaders, all of them from east to west, north to south, all of them just straight up withholding money from their governments.
Yeah. No, it's been there it's not the first one of this kind. Everyone
Mhm.
remembers the Panama Papers. It's kind of a series that's been happening, and this is just the latest one. And what it basically outlines is just the amount of money that is just sitting in these offshore accounts away from the prying eyes of governments to tax them. And I think, like, when we think about things like, we're having this debate over the 3.5 trillion to, maybe it's going to get lowered to $2 trillion reconciliation bill to give people health care and child care and things like that, and free college and things like that. And we're nickel and diming it every step of the way. Meanwhile, the amount of cash that is just sitting on these offshore accounts is just absolutely astonishing. Estimates have as much as 32 trillion
That's crazy.
sitting in these offshore
That's
accounts, which is money that
crazy.
is stolen, because money that's taxed from you is not your money. It's not like, this idea, like, the Chris Rock bit. It's like wrong. This idea that, like, you get paid and then the government takes, a percentage of it. Like, that's not the way to think about it. You really earn whatever the post tax income is. I know it sucks, but they and it sucks to see it on your paycheck that way. But, like, you enjoy the benefits of these taxes. I mean, here in the United States, we have the shitty thing that we pay for the military, and that sucks. But I don't know, the roads and the street lights and the firefighters and the schools and the hospitals and all that shit. We benefit from those things in certain ways. And if you're in Europe, you benefit even more because they have a much better public sector and welfare system and things like that. So money that you're hiding from tax authorities is money that's stolen. You're not necessarily, it's not like you're just doing anything other than that. So yeah.
Yeah, and guess what? You always hear, and I think it's important to always point this shit out. You always hear it, this sort of phraseology in the reverse, though. It's like, why should some guy at Walmart bust his hump paying his taxes. So some welfare queen, I was literally just watched this on Succession because I'm doing a rewatch right now. So some welfare queen could sit on their ass and twiddle their thumbs and blah, 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 blah. Well, it's like, okay, why should that same worker be busting their ass and paying their fair share taxes for somebody who is infinitely wealthy to just remain so and just hoard fucking resources, right? Like, at least you could say with this proverbial welfare queen, what are they really going to contribute to the tax base anyway, right? Like, these people are infinitely wealthy. It would make no material difference to their lives to actually pay their fair share, yet they continue with the greed and the ridiculousness. And again, the people who get crushed by this are just us, normal working people. That's why the percentage of our taxes are what they are, because these people pay nothing. They're the ones freeloading. They're the ones getting a free ride. And again, we say this all the time. It's not like they're providing all these amazing work opportunities, right? Like the job creators. It's not like they're inventing this new modern middle class where everybody has a great job and can buy a house and can go on vacation and can pay for college. And if they were doing all of that shit and hiding all this money, I'd probably be like, nah, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But they're not.
But we don't get that stuff.
We don't get anything. We get nothing from these people.
It's funny. There's funny names that were named in it. Like Shakira is in it. Elton John, Pep Guardiola, manager. Your boy Pep Guardiola, the former captain of the Indian cricket team, which is definitely a big deal. Vladimir Putin's mistress was in it. Years-long mistress. You know, she's getting paid for those services.
Is Putin married?
I don't know if Putin's married. I mean, there was the rumor. One of my favorite stories ever that I always tell people in like parties and shit is like, you know, you said you were rewatching Succession, right? And Succession is like loosely based on Murdoch. And you know, he's got like in Succession, he's got like this new wife, right? Like, and she's like from Asia or the Middle East or something. Where
she's from, who she is. It's mysterious.
So I think it's loosely based on a woman named Wendy Dang, who was with Rupert Murdoch for a while, then cheated on him with Tony Blair. Okay. And then was hooking up with Vladimir Putin. I'm like, this woman is fucking going cycling through the most powerful
of this woman. I'm a fan.
Yeah, she's nice. She's from China, like she's from rural China, and like I half expect her to be like just like some agent for like Xi Jinping.
100%.
It was like
100%
manufactured in a lab. But yeah, her story is fucking fascinating. But yeah, but the funny thing is like there were some people who are like, "Ooh, I find it interesting that there's no Americans on this list. Is it have something to do with like
they don't
the
need
press?"
to.
It's like there's no need. They don't need to.
Our regular tax laws allowed them to avoid every single tax, no matter what. You know, we have politicians running on slashing record tax cuts, right? Like they don't need this shit. They can just do it right here in the good old red, white, and blue, baby.
And we tax capital gains at 15%, and instead of an income at 35%, and therefore they have all their income through capital gains. And then someone like Jeff Bezos doesn't pay any tax because he doesn't even have an income. All he does is take out loans, and so he pays the interest on the loan, which is usually like 6%. I mean, I'm sure Bezos can negotiate an even lower interest because he's fucking Bezos, and he calls up the
you're
fucking
gonna get the money back.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna keep spending money with you. Yeah,
exactly. So that's why they don't pay any taxes, because like he has all this wealth in Amazon stock, but he never cashes out. You know, you only get taxed once you cash out. You know, in the delta or whatever, the difference between the price before and after. And he just doesn't have to. He just has the stock, and he just borrows against the stock. And then he pays the interest. Then he just borrows from someone else to pay for the, he does that over and over again.
And the thing is, it's like when Bezos is negotiating, it's like you and I might go to try to get a home loan, and we'd be like, all right, we need a loan for X, Y, and Z. And they're going to be like, all right, here's what the going interest rate is, and here's what it is. Bezos is like, no, you need to loan me this amount.
Yeah.
And because I'm good for it, just think about 2% on that amount is, it's like 1 trillion% or whatever fuck me and Nando could get our hands on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's simple math, guys. Like it's
Yeah.
obvious. The system is rigged in their favor. And yeah, that's the thing that I think Nando had pointed out to me when we spoke earlier. He was like, the greatest thing is that the Americans don't even need to do this shit.
Yeah.
Like the titans of industry, they don't need to. They can hide. They can just avoid taxes legally here in America.
Well, and it's not even just the low tax rate, which is low. Like in Europe, if you're rich, like they charge you for it, you know. So like there is much more incentive for these people to do this kind of shady dealings. In the United States, you don't even need to go to Panama or the British Virgin Islands or whatever. You can
Just go to
incorporate in Delaware. Just like, which is, you know, funny. It's like the state where Joe Biden was a senator for, you know, 40 years. And like, which is just essentially like an offshore tax haven state,
Yep.
you know, like a fucking bullshit state that no one cares about except for that. Yeah, so that's why there's no Americans in the Panama Papers or in the Pandora Papers. Really, it's they don't need to. But like Europeans, where they have a much more effective taxing system, they're all in it. You know, all the rich people in Europe, like Tony Blair was in it too, which is great. And yeah, that's what they, you know, just this apparently like half of the people that were, or like, you know, just like an insane percentage of the leaks came from just a single law firm in Panama. Like there's this one law firm in Panama that, like, if you're just a rich guy, you're calling up this fucking law firm. Like these guys are the blue chip guys who just like help you do it. And basically what they do is they set up like 1,000 little companies that are meaningless.
And there's no way to figure out which way to go. Yeah.
You know, exactly.
You have no idea who started it, what's on it. They just killed it. And you know, they said in the and what's the name of this conglomerate of journalists, like different media
the ICIJ.
The ICIJ,
the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. Yeah.
In the piece that they put out, they were explaining that, you know, this entire offshore, quote unquote, offshore system was invented by just one law firm in America that basically they write the laws for politicians. That's the thing a lot of people don't understand, that the laws are actually written by the lobbies, right? Like they actually handwrite it detail by detail based on how they want to be able to maneuver and operate. And they hand it to our politicians like, all right, this is what you codified. You know, like how crazy is that? The laws that are intended to sort of rein these people in are actually written by these people, you know, and that's why when Bernie talks about the fixed game, the rigged economy, this is what he's talking. The fight is literally fixed. Like they showed up to the test with the answers, guys. Like that's what's happening here. And you know, and I think the piece was cool, and I think people are gonna listen to this and they're gonna be like, well, what can we do?
And I mean, not much is the reality. I mean,
I don't fucking know, man.
Yeah. I mean, but it's just a reminder. I mean, it's worth remembering every once in a while that the world is rich. There's plenty of money to go around.
Yes.
We can fix like basically all of the world's problems, like all of them
tomorrow.
You know, tomorrow, with the amount of money we have right now, just sitting around in these offshore tax havens. I mean, yeah, we can have Medicare for all easily, free college here in this country, but we can solve like global hunger and poverty.
Like, seriously, like
literally,
seriously, like get everybody on the grid, like do the whole fucking thing. We could do it, like hunger in Africa, the whole fucking thing, put everybody on the internet. We could do that shit tomorrow with the amount of wealth that's around. But you know, the power hungry, they don't like that. They like having slaves. You know, they
need 12 private jets.
It's absurd. It's absurd.
Have you seen the latest thing that they're all pining over? The ultra wealthy are these luxury. They're like submergible yachts, which I would usually call
like a submarine.
Yeah. Where you could like literally like go underwater and like live in this kind of like luxury palace underwater, away from like the prime. Yeah, exactly. Like just gone.
Away from the plebes.
Yeah.
Away from the plebes. That's all they want to do. They just want to suck us dry of our labor, you know, basically extract everything they can out of us. You know, work 80 hours a week. You if you're sleeping, you're losing your kill yourself for work. Oh, you should be working.
Oh, we're giving them way too much unemployment insurance. They're not fucking taking jobs at McDonald's anymore.
It's absurd. Your man Joe Manchin said, "I don't want to create an entitlement culture." Same guy who
Yeah.
got a big bailout check in 2009. Same dude.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah.
he gets government money, it's this is good government spending because it's
Yeah.
on me. Duh.
Yeah.
I'm entitled to it. I don't want an entitlement culture. I just want to remain entitled to all the riches
Yeah.
of the government. It's just fucking absurd. Anyway,
Yeah.
go read that. It's pretty fascinating stuff that's in there. So please go read that. And so we move on, man. On Monday, was it Monday? Yeah, on Monday, after 60 Minutes aired a piece, a woman named Frances Hogan, or
Yeah.
is it
Haugen or
it's
something.
Haugen? Oh, it's Haugen. I kept saying Hogan. I just want to say Hose, I guess. Frances Haugen, excuse me. She went up to Capitol Hill and she basically spilled the beans on Facebook. She talked. She. What I thought was cool about this, there was some problems with the testimony and the way the shit went, but I thought what was coolest about it was just this isn't Facebook's own words.
Yeah.
This isn't theorizing. This isn't, X, Y, and Z. This isn't Facebook's own word. Their own resources were put into this. Like this is their own work. And this is the truth as Facebook knows it to be.
Yeah.
This shit is ultra toxic, not just to young women and young people in general about body images, but it's just like how hate speech, how lies and propaganda spreads. The algorithm is stoking that flame. And the algorithm stokes that flame so that they can get more engagement. They need more engagement so that they can sell more ads. They need more ads to be sold so that they can make more money. I think the last quarter, Nando, Facebook reported profits of 25 billion. That's in a 4-month span.
Yeah. 1/4.
Excuse me, that's in a 3-month span.
Three-month
That's in a
span.
3-month
Yeah.
span. In a 3-month
Uh,
span, they made 25 billion in profits. That's what they reported. And these people can't afford to tweak an algorithm that is so obviously killing and hurting people and fucking shit up. That's like that's kind of all you need to know about the system, bro. Like
I
a
listened to
100 billion this year they're gonna make.
yeah.
What
I
the
listened to the episode of the Daily about this. I think it was today's episode. They did an episode about this in the Daily, and like I find the Daily worth listening to, but you have to understand that the Daily is run by
the
like it's like
context?
lib stuff. It's like
Yeah,
lib
yeah, yeah,
shit.
yeah.
You know, it's
You know that. You know
it's
the
libs,
context. Yeah.
and and so like they're like, well, it turns out that every step of the way, whenever Facebook had a decision between making more profit and making like the right kind of moral decision, they went for profit every time. Isn't that
That's
really
crazy.
what? I'm like, dude, that's how fucking capitalism
That's
works,
how it
bruh. Like,
always
yeah.
goes.
And the thing is, it doesn't matter. It's not up to the individual. More like I think Mark Zuckerberg is an evil person. He is
Yeah,
clearly
for
like a
sure. He's
megalomaniac
trash.
psychopath. Yeah,
He's sick in the
but
head.
put in like a good moral person in there. Like say you or I became CEO of Facebook tomorrow. Because I think you're a moral person. I think I'm
Yeah.
a moral person. I mean, we have our our
It'd be tough.
weaknesses, like anyone else,
Mhm.
but we're largely moral
For sure.
people.
Yeah.
We go in there and we're like, oh wow, this is horrible. Like look at all this awful shit. Like what Facebook is like targeting young children and turning them to suicidal, and we know this. Oh shit, that's horrible.
Yeah, let's step up.
We
Let's
gotta
step up to
stop
the
doing
plate.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to stop doing that. And then they'll be like, wait, but this is going to affect our profit margin by 14.5%. And you're like, yeah, but the children, they're committing suicide. And you're like, no, but you see the profit margin, it's going down 14.5%. And you're like, no, I don't care about that. Let's do the thing that doesn't kill the children. And then they'll be like, okay, that's great. Bye. You're gone. You're
That's
fired.
it.
So
That's
it doesn't
it.
matter.
That's it.
That's
That's it. That's it. 14.5% of 100 billion. Like anybody who's a shareholder is like, we're not losing 14 billion for no teenage kids. Them parents got to step up. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
They'll come up with all the excuses why it's not Facebook's fault, right? Like, hey man, look, fuck them kids. They ain't my kids. You already know. You can hear it already.
Yeah.
And the thing that was also interesting about the testimony was just like, look, there's ways to fix this or to make it better, But the bottom line is like Facebook's not gonna be the one to fix this. They're
No,
just
of course not. They
not.
can't. That's what I'm saying. They can't. They can't. Like under capitalism, you're like you either have to maximize profit or die. That's the reality of this is why capitalism sucks. Because and this is why that the only like entity that can put a check on that furious need within capitalism is labor
The
unions
labor force,
working
right?
with the state. Um, and but other than that, like they have to. If not, they'll be replaced. If not, they'll fucking die. Someone else will eat their lunch. I mean, that's just the reality of capitalist competition. So that's why it's so funny, like watching like all these like liberals be like, "Hey, yeah, well, I mean, it looks like they're making these like immoral decisions all the time," and it's like, dude, that's kind of that they have to. Their hands are tied. Really, like I'm not trying to like make excuses for them, but that the only solutions have to
Nah.
come from external forces, external pressure, the government, labor unions, things like that, because that's the only countervailing force to the capitalist need for profit maximization at all times and always. So, and I think that was funny because like there's solutions. I mean, the Facebook thing and the social media thing is kind of very fraught even on the left in terms of what to do. Like, do you break it up or do you nationalize it, or and there's pros and cons to both. And we can talk about them, but like it's funny. When Frances Haugen was like, they're asked her like, do you think Facebook should be broken up, and she's like, no, I don't think so. Like it just should be
Of
regulated.
course not.
Well, because she probably, and someone pointed out on Twitter, because she's like, she's got a, like, I mean, she's like a Facebook bigwig. She's got the stock, she's still
She's
got the
got a
stock.
shit ton of stock. Are you shitting me? No, don't break it up.
Yeah, no, we don't
Break
talk
it
about
up.
that. No.
Oh no, this thing's a machine that's working
Yeah,
great.
yeah. This is my
Don't
retirement
break
right
it
there.
up.
You crazy?
No, you can't do that.
Yeah.
However, what if we did X, Y, and Z? It's the silliest thing ever. And part of it too, man, like all of this shit's gonna come out. All of this shit is made public. 60 Minutes, New York Times. It's not like this is a secret story. The Daily, you name it. It's all over the place. Capitol Hill, like it's getting coverage. It's getting press. Man, Instagram went down the other day and people lost their goddamn mind. So it's not like you can count on the
They
people.
want it. Well, I mean, that's the crux. The crux of the whistleblowing thing is that they know it's addicting. They know it makes people miserable. It drives people to drive teens to like fucking suicide and shit. But that it's addicting, and that's, I mean, things that are addicting like aren't good for you. Like they're not. Drugs are fun and addicting,
So the
but like
people
they're
are
not
never
good for
going to
you.
rise up and say, "Stop giving me this crack that I love." No, I'm a crackhead. Keep giving me the crack.
Exactly.
So it's the ultimate paradox. And that's not to say that I'm above any of this. I love Instagram as much as anybody else. Honestly, part of me is just like, yo, if I wasn't doing the work that I do, I probably would have deleted Instagram a while ago. Just to, how fucking addictive it is.
I deleted
out
it.
of control. It's out of control how addictive it is. That being said, man, it's obvious that this shit has a hold on people. And like you said, like we've said many times before on the show about how everybody thinks of themselves as a customer. Like everybody's just like, yo, I want my Instagram back. I want my feedback. I want my memes back. I want my big booty hoes back. I want all of it. I want my freaking steak porn back. I want everything back. It's tough, man. And look, like this Facebook shit is so emblematic of everything that we talk about on the show, as far as the big moneyed interests, how the state is actually powerless to do anything to rein this shit in. And then, of course, the masses are just like so disparate and so disconnected from what it is these powerful entities are actually doing to our lives. And it's like the amount of power these homies hold, and again, I kind of think the stuff about Facebook like hurting people and all of this other shit. I think it's kind of overstated. The polarization, all of that type of shit. I think it is a
Mhm.
kind of overstated how influential these internet things are. I really do feel
It's
that
not as
way.
influential as TV news, for example.
Right, right. Which the article makes plain. Like, nah, they did studies, and like Fox News is way better at turning somebody's mind on something like Obamacare, like the
Yeah.
fucking, you know what I'm saying, like the pre-existing conditions or whatever. Like Fox News is way more influential in like making you feel a way about a policy, right?
Yeah.
Like depending on what you heard about it from Fox News is more likely to change people's minds. However, you know, just the idea that this company is making $100 billion a year and Mark Zuckerberg is basically the one person in charge of wielding that power, that's a fucking problem. That's
Well, I
fucking
mean,
scary.
also, but if you look beyond the United States, I mean, Facebook, Facebook also, like you said, owns Instagram, but also owns WhatsApp,
Yep.
um, which is the mode of communication in the developing world. Like I'm sure
Internationally. Yep.
all your family
Yeah,
in Haiti is
everybody
on
in
WhatsApp.
Haiti is on
Yeah,
WhatsApp. Yep.
yeah. In Brazil, everyone's on WhatsApp. In Spain, everyone's on WhatsApp. Everywhere outside of the United States, like we text, like you and I
Right.
iMessage, but like everywhere else,
Anybody who's not in America, I'm hitting them on WhatsApp pretty much. Yep.
yeah. And there has been examples of like WhatsApp being used to like fucking the Brazilian elections, for example, Bolsonaro, like WhatsApp was the political terrain in which that election was fought. um Ditto like in India and other places like that. So there is something there is this weird situation in which a private company, and like you said, one man, really at the end of the day, controls this kind of like public square of communication. I think that you're right in the United States, like the role of Facebook and like our weird politics is kind of overstated. I think what's plain is that it's made like users of it like miserable, like depressed,
Yes,
and that like
that's not good.
that's not good, and that like Instagram makes teens feel like very self-conscious about their bodies and shit, and that like um I think that's kind of undeniable. But like, yeah, I think you're right that its effect on like things like QAnon or our weird kind of politics in general and polarization is kind of overstated, and that like the real thing that's turning our brain to mush is TV news
Yes.
but
Yes, it's
I think
turning
that's
libs into
underrated.
complete idiots
Yeah,
and right wingers into just
into like
crazy
psychos.
zealots. Like it really
Yeah,
is, bro. Like
yeah.
there's no two ways about it. Cable news is ruining everybody's lives, and
Mm.
I'm somebody who, to bring it back to cable news, I'm somebody who wasn't as critical of Rachel Maddow and Russiagate as a lot of people on the left
Mm.
were. Like people were like
Like
really
me,
critical.
like
Like
me.
I was just like, look, this is what the right wing would be doing. Like this is exactly what they would be doing if a story like this was attached to any fucking Democrat. And it's specifically at coming out of 8 years of Barry. I'm like, bruh, if this was Barry, this would lead every single Fox
Yes.
show every single day. So that's what's like, I kind of get it. They're trying to do it in the reverse, but then you remember
But look,
Trump's
but
white,
okay, but
and it doesn't
but
matter.
here's the counterpoint. Like, I mean, this is something that we haven't talked about on the show, but like, there was a big Yahoo News story last week in which the Pompeo-led CIA was hatching actual assassination plots for Julian Assange, right?
Mhm.
And the big narrative around Assange, the way that he was turned against liberals, was that he was working with the Trump administration on this Russia shit, and
Mm.
and now we know that. I mean, I always knew that that was bullshit, that that was a preposterous, absurd thing. Now we know that the Trump administration was not working with Assange. They were trying to literally murder him, like but
Right.
the effect has been to create this situation where Assange is a pariah
Right.
for everyone, essentially. This man who is revealed more about the way the world actually works and the way power works than almost anyone on the planet,
Right.
is gonna fucking rot away in a jail for the rest of his life and be tortured and all that shit. So that's why like we have to we can't just, if we play that game, we get into some dicey territory,
For sure.
so
Absolutely. But I say that to say that like Maddow absolutely had people reading the breadcrumbs. The
yeah.
shoe's
But it
gonna
turns
drop
out
any
reading
day
so
now.
much. It turns their
Like
brain
she
into
she
mush.
turned a bunch of libs into idiots with that
They have like a
Russiagate stuff.
billboard with like the red yarns, and it's like,
It's
Paul
it
Manafort
was it
and
was
fucking
like
Nelly
a
Orr.
bunch of Russian names that end in ski that I don't remember, and it was like
Yeah,
Kov and this and Kalishnikov, and I'm like, yo, Rachel, yo, I checked out of
chill
that
out.
thing after like a week. I was like, bro, you can't be this dedicated to this. So yeah, I say all of that to say like, yeah, that shit literally turned people into tinfoil hat wearing motherfuckers. Like literally, Maddow did that. You know what I'm saying? And I think it
Yeah,
eroded a lot of her credibility because of it. And so, yeah, man,
yeah,
like to pretend that Facebook is turning people. I mean, come on, man. I've been on the internet forever. People been dumb on the internet and way
yeah,
before Facebook.
yeah.
Eminem, yo, we used to kill Eminem every other week on the internet. Y'all don't remember that? Eminem would die in a car crash. Eminem died
Yeah,
of
yeah.
overdose.
Lil
Eminem,
Wayne died.
yo, son,
Remember that one?
yeah.
Lil Wayne got killed in like a gang fight or like
Bro,
a fucking
that's
drive-by
what we
shooting.
used to do on the internet all
Yeah.
day, every single day. So this idea that this is like, and again, it's not like Stormfront and all of those shits didn't exist. They did exist, man. Like people were already doing their conspiracy stuff. Like, sure, I
Lyndon,
guess it's more.
you guys don't know about Lyndon LaRouche handing out pamphlets, fucking street corners and shit. I don't know. I know, Waz, you're a big fan of the Black Israelites. Like that was way before
Of
the internet.
course, of
I'm a big fan of the
course.
Black Israelites too. Come on. How can you not?
Listen, man. Look, like I said, I think the Facebook stuff about all the integrity of our democracy and all that. I mean, that shit is bullshit, pie in the sky. Bullshit. Okay. The idea that the Russians could propagandize us by Facebook ads, this is bullshit.
That's the stupidest thing in the
These
world.
people have been dumb. Okay, so
Yeah,
shut the fuck up about that. Anyway,
yeah.
check out that paper in what's the name of the media joint again, Nando?
The ICIJ,
The ICIJ with the Pandora Papers.
Pandora Papers.
And then yeah, make sure y'all watch that full testimony of the Facebook whistleblower. But before we get out of here, me and Nando, obviously two of the biggest Soprano fans in the history of the world, both watched Many Saints of Newark just past weekend. David Chase's movie prequel of the show. They follow Dickie Moltisanti, Christopher Moltisanti's father, and a host, assortment of other people. Uncle June is there. Johnny Boy is there. We see Olivia. We see everybody there. Nando, I'll give you the floor first, and then I'll come in with my because whenever people say I got good news and I got bad news, they always want the bad news first. So Nando,
Right,
you
right.
deliver the bad news first.
All right. I was not a big fan of this movie. I think that, like, obviously, like, if you're a Sopranos fan, watch it. Like you gotta watch it and oh look, hey, look, there's Sil. Oh my God, look, it's Paulie. He does the little fingers thing too, like Paulie does. And you got to do that. But I think as a movie, it was pretty weak. I thought a lot of it was just completely random and incoherent.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that the character of Dick Moltisanti was just kind of uninteresting. Like he was like, what was his deal? Like, he was. And then I think just on a broader level, what I found disappointing about the movie is that you and I, we do this like Sopranos rewatch podcast once a month. We watch one episode a month.
Right.
But like every time I watch a new episode of Sopranos, even season 1, I'm like, man, this show was a comedy.
Yeah.
With the high literary themes, but like, man, it was like every episode was like joke, and I think that's part of the reason why Sopranos has so much staying power, so much rewatchability. The Wire is great, but like it's like a heavy rewatch. Sopranos is like a light rewatch in a way, even though the show's heavy at the same time because it's so funny, and because it didn't take itself so seriously. It took a lot of the higher themes very seriously, and the decline of American capitalism, the decline of the American male within late capitalism, the sort of suburbanization of America, million like great heady themes that are very resonant today, and which is why people love the show still, and why Zoomers fucking love the show, because it's like this bleak picture about the future of America. The Many Saints of Newark was like not funny and took itself so seriously.
Yes.
Like it's like, come on,
Yeah.
But then it didn't take The Sopranos as a world seriously enough in a weird way. Like that was one of my problems in that, like, the guy who plays Silvio is doing like a full-on caricature cartoon.
Mhm.
All they have to throw in all this like bullshit fan service, like Junior drops the line and he never had the makings of a varsity athlete, or like he
Mhm.
doesn't have the makings of a varsity athlete or whatever, which is just like for the hootin' and hollering fans, like, oh look, he said it, he said it, like no different from the fucking Marvel Cinematic Universe, like,
right.
oh my god, can you believe
Right,
that at the end of the Civil War, Captain America, Iron Man came out and he was like, and he was like, oh my god, well that happened, like whatever, and I'm like, oh, so like in a way it had the worst of both worlds. Like either do a lighthearted, gangster movie, murders, all that stuff, but like don't like try to make it like this kind of grandiose epic thing. Because The Sopranos, part of the appeal was that it was not grandiose, that it was like this kind of like these guys were just fucking, suburban shitheads on some level. So I mean, and I don't want to spoil any of the plot, so I'm not going to get into the plot, but there were certain plot beats where I was like, that is just completely random and unearned, anyway, that was my you vibed with it. You vibed with it.
Couple of things. I vibed with it for a few reasons. One, everything that Nando says about the movie as a movie, it doesn't work as a movie. It's all over the place. It's messy. It just doesn't work. It definitely and that's just the linear story, whatever plot that it's trying to do. And forget about this other like more esoteric sort of stuff about like a grand unifying theme about the meaning of life or existence or family, or it doesn't do any of that shit. No, that's not what that does. What I think it does do is I think it does a good job of contextualizing Tony and Chris's relationship. I think if you understand how close Tony felt to Chris's father, and I think the movie does a good enough job explaining to you that like these guys were fucking close, and not even just close, like he basically loved this guy more than his own father, right? And so therefore Chris is his brother. He's his little brother. He's this person that he has to protect. And obviously, if you've seen the show, ultimately Chris dies at Tony's hands. But Chris is a fuck up. He's a shit. Whatever. He probably deserved it anyway. But it explains that relationship. It recontextualizes that relationship for me watching the movie. Seeing, James Gandolfini's son, who I know we're supposed to be nice to this kid, but he stunk up the joint.
I mean, he was bad in The Deuce. He was he was better in this than he was in The Deuce.
He was better in this than he was in The Deuce, but he was god awful in The Deuce. But I think those scenes, that all of the moments of tenderness that you saw between them, I think was very effective. And also like they're explaining to you the bad behaviors, like basically how they decided to do it was show that Tony was a sweetheart, basically. A pussycat, but he was surrounded by so much psychopaths. He basically had to take on those dual realities. Another thing I think I like that the movie did, Tony's mother is given some level of humanity. Whereas on the show, she is absolutely no monster. She's a monster. She is evil incarnate in the show. In the movie, they basically humanize her, not all the way, by the way, but they humanize her in such a way which I was very into. Another thing that I thought was cool, again, like sort of recontextualizing some of the lore from the show. We talked about it recently. Recently, we talked about when Janice told a joke about Tony's dad shooting a hole in his mother's head. Right. And on the show, it's played for complete laughs and like whatever. And I remember us talking about it on the rewatch pod, but we're like, yo, that's fucking horrific. That's horrible. And in the movie, they play it like that. Like it's a horrible, horrifying,
really unsettling.
Super unsettling.
And it unsettles even like Dickie Maltesante, like not a fucking pussycat,
Right. And so for those reasons, it made me feel warm about the show because of the things that it did to contextualize.
Honestly, it probably would have been a better show.
Yeah. Facts. So true. So true. Probably a
Like,
better
you
show
know,
to set it
honestly, I
in
thought
that,
the
to
yeah,
put it in
the
that setting.
performances of the older Soprano crew of the guy, you know, Corey Stahl who plays Uncle June, the
Hmm.
guy from House of Cards, um, Vera Farmiga who plays Livia Soprano, John Bernthal who plays Johnny Boy Soprano, Tony's dad, who
Amazing.
gives a great performance in a very small role, but really, like you said, recontextual like, shows that Tony's dad was essentially like this like dumbass, violent psychopath,
Right.
or like or you know, unstable, like very not a good guy to be a very
Yeah.
unsettling
He
presence.
sucked. He
Um,
sucked.
in the show, in the flashbacks with Johnny Boy Soprano, he just looked kind of like a dumbass, you know.
Yeah.
But in this one, he had a lot more menace because John Bernthal has like, you know, he
Hmm.
has like a lot of menace within him. And like all those performances were great, but they were just kind of serving this story that was kind of bleh. And like what was going on, like what was
Yeah, the
the
story,
thing, and
and
like
look, they did a whole black thing, which
they did a
I
whole
told
black thing,
Mando that was David Chase White
and that guy
guilt with
was
the black
great.
story. He was super good. He's super great. I want to see
Like
him in
that's the
more
thing, the
stuff.
performance with that guy
He
Harold.
killed it.
Is he from Hamilton or something? He's the only thing I've seen him in. But he's
I never
great, man.
seen
That guy's
Hamilton.
me
But yeah,
neither. But I know he's in it.
he's incredible. He gave an incredible performance. The woman doing the Penelope Cruz impersonation
Yeah, the
is
Italian Penelope Cruz. She's
mwah.
great.
She
Yeah,
is amazing. Immediately had to Google her. I was like, who that?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
She
She
is
looks like such an Italian. She's such an Italian face. Like they
she
couldn't have
is
found like a more.
amazing. She is
Yeah,
perfectly casted and she gives a great performance. Like she is going for it and she's doing
yeah.
fiery shit, vulnerability. She's doing humor.
She's great.
Man, she's a
The
talented girl.
younger
We need to
soprano
watch for her.
crew, Paulie,
Tough,
Silvio, and
tough
Pussy
beat.
Pampero.
That
Man,
was a tough beat. That was a tough beat.
oof.
That was a tough beat. That was that
Yeah, that was
was a
tough.
tough
And it
beat. But
just
yeah,
tonally didn't fit. I don't know. It was just like, yeah,
and also, like, also the thing that I think was cool is like explaining to you how much older than Tony his crew is. Like, it
yeah,
explains to you why they call him Boy Wonder and all of
yeah,
those other things. Like, they're so much older than him, and he
yeah,
becomes the boss, and it explains so much of the relationship. Why they treat him like that, like, because he is their kid brother, but he's also like he's the king of the castle, right? He's like that 9-year-old king. You know what I mean? Like the movie does a good job of explaining the
yeah.
show. As a movie, no, like the way it started, I was like, oh shit, I'm into this. Then it just
Oh
started
yeah, me
falling
too.
apart.
I think the first act, maybe the first half
Yeah,
was on good footing, and then it just kind of like
it just
they
started
started to
falling
try to do
apart.
these twists and turns, and you're like,
Yeah,
this just feels random. It just feels
yeah,
random and pointless, and
yeah.
it doesn't make any fucking sense.
First half of the movie was like, wow, this is crazy. Like, oh my God.
Yeah,
But then as the story thread started to fall, it was just like, all right, yeah, this isn't a real movie. But I felt emotions watching it. And
yeah.
yeah, like I said, I would obviously, if you like The Sopranos, I think you should absolutely watch it. And I would, and guess what? I wouldn't mind seeing another prequel. Give me another one. I don't give a
Yeah,
fuck. But
yeah,
keep bringing me back to this damn world, man.
yeah.
I loved it. I didn't. I don't want to say I loved it, but I really enjoyed it. I sat on my couch and I was like, hey, I thought this
I
was
mean,
dope. I enjoyed
every
it.
movie now sucks. So like, you know,
Yeah,
you can watch
that's
there's
fair.
worse things to watch.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair.
So,
But
yeah.
yeah, make sure you guys check out the Many Say to Newark. Make sure you're checking out every single Count the Dings offering. Make sure you become a Patreon at patreon.com/Count the Dings. We'll see you guys next week. We're out of here, man. Peace.
Later.